Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Thursday. Today is Thursday, September 8th. So, congratulations for being alive today. I am Mitchell Somm. I'm here with Christopher Richardson. I'm so happy to have Christopher here because I haven't seen his face on one of my Facebook Live videos in this group in quite some time. So, welcome back, Christopher.
Thank you, Mitchell. I missed you.
I missed you as well. Yeah, totally likewise there. Chris and I are here to talk about the retrogression. And I think that this is a topic that everyone wants to hear about in this Facebook group because it's very relevant to BDV clients and anyone really going through the EB-3 unskilled process. So over the past several months since June, we have been in a retrogression. And essentially that has caused a lot of delays in people's cases because they haven't been able to move forward to file for their adjustment of status or their work permits or get green cards approved. And so we have actually seen during the retrogression a handful of cases that had priority dates prior to May 8th, 2019, actually get their green card approved. I think that was a really good sign. Unfortunately, I think this month, Chris and I were expecting for the Visa Bulletin to become current, considering it's the new fiscal year. And based on our experience of seeing two other retrogressions in the past, with those becoming current in October as well. So that was a bit of a disappointment, I think, to a lot of people in the group. But this morning, USCIS announced that they are using filing chart A. Was it A?
It's B.
Oh, B. They're using filing chart B, which is...
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mitchell. Sorry.
Is it B?
Go ahead. Let me
I
look.
think it's B. Well, it's the chart that says September 8th, 2022 as the priority date. And that is for filing applications for EB other workers, EB-3 other workers. So essentially, I will give you kind of a brief rundown here, and then I'll let Chris kind of dig into the details of all of this. But they're going by that chart, which means that you are not affected by the retrogression in terms of a 485 adjustment of status filing or a work permit, because that's September 8th, 2022 filing date. And so essentially what that means is anyone, because September 8th is literally today, anyone can get an I-485 adjustment of status filed if you're adjusting your status in the U.S. This really affects people that are getting their green cards approved. And that priority date is June 20th? June something?
20th, yep, June 20th, 2020.
June 20th, 2020. And so essentially what this means is that BDV clients and anyone in the EB-3 unskilled program that had a labor...
June 1st, 2020.
June 1st. Yep. June 1st, 2020. Yeah. Anyone who had a labor certification filed on or before June 1st, 2020, you are going to be prioritized to get your visa adjudicated first. So BDV has, a lot of cases of clients that had labor certifications around that time that are waiting for their green card to get approved. So I think for those clients, they should be very happy that their labor cert filing date is within that cutoff date. But this is going to affect BDV clients with a labor certification filing date after 2020. You're just not going to get a green card approved right now until that date becomes current. And what do we expect, Chris? Do we expect it to become current again?
So unfortunately, USCIS has a lot of things going on, and State Department as well, that have nothing to do. So the reason why they put visa retrogression in place, or they should be putting it in place, is because they think that they're going to reach the 10,000, right? Like they're like, oh crap, we're going to reach the 10,000. We have to put it in place to make sure we don't reach 10,000. Unfortunately, it's not really about that. I don't even think they reached 10,000 this year. The problem is that there are these other categories, right? There's EB-1, EB-2, there's EADs, there's all these things USCIS has to deal with, right? And so they'll use visa retrogression as a way to slow down applications coming in so they can deal with these other cases, right? And so it might be that. It might be the fact that Consular has a huge backlog of cases that were returned, and now those cases have been reaffirmed, and therefore those cases need to be approved. there's a lot of cases that we have, a lot of people have that are really, really old too, that go well into 2019, 2018 that we don't necessarily see, but they're out there. And so there's a lot of things that just go into why USCIS decides to put in visa retrogression. It has actually nothing to do with why they need to be put in retrogression. And so it's hard to know what's going to happen in October. But the good news is that the guy who runs the Visa Bulletin, who ran the Visa Bulletin for like 20, 30, 40 years, Charlie Oppenheim, he's now partnering with BDV, and he's going to talk to us on October 3rd. I think October 3rd or the 4th. We're going to do a Facebook Live with him so he can explain to us sort of what goes on behind the scenes with the Visa Bulletin. Why do they make these decisions? And also maybe help us find ways to lobby or work with the current people in government so that EB-3 unskilled isn't unfairly targeted or punished. Because I think that happens a lot where the government's like, well, we have all these things we got to deal with. These cases are the easiest ones to put in visa retrogression. So let's just slow those down for now so that we can do these other ones. And so we're going to continue talking to the government to see about those things. But what happens in October, November, December, I think that it's more likely to be current, and we're more likely to see green cards be issued than not.
Yeah.
After then, it's it's up to fate.
Yeah, totally. And I think that this whole retrogression thing should not be a discouraging factor for anybody to actually sign up for the EB-3 program. And I say that like with very good intent, not just to encourage people to sign up because I want more clients for BDV or we need more clients for BDV. I say that because you need to get in this program before this retrogression thing becomes a serious issue like it has been for China and India over the past, decade or however long they've been kind of stuck in that. I believe that there are more people signing up for the EB-3 other workers category, and I could see where the increase in the volume of EB-3 other workers would affect their USCIS's processing times of the other visa categories. And so I could see where, like what you just said, where they might slow this one down a little bit because they want to refocus on the other visa categories.
Right.
So that's kind of an interesting take on it. Chris and I, unfortunately, Chris used to work for the government, but we're here in the private sector now at BDV. So all of these kind of estimations that we give you, they're really guesses ultimately at the end of the day. And so I feel disappointed just because the past two times we had seen the retrogression end in October. I think typically in October, when that fiscal year ends and then, begins again, they reset those visa numbers. So this was a little shocking, to me, but I don't think that in any way it should be taken on a negative
I
note.
wasn't particularly shocked, and because it hadn't moved at all throughout the whole summer, right? Do you remember in the past years, whenever it would move pretty rapidly, right? So it would be like 2019, then 2020, then 2021, but it was really just May 19th forever, right? And it really just jumped this year. So I was kind of afraid that they weren't going to do anything because maybe they felt like there was a huge volume of cases, but then USCIS jumped in and decided to use Chart B, which was a huge deal for us, and a huge deal for those who are waiting for their EB-3 unskilled. And to caveat what Mitchell was saying as well, I don't think we're ever going to be as bad as India and China in terms of visa retrogression and having to wait. I think as long as there's not like a fairness bill or something that goes on, that there's always going to be numbers. It's just that it might be a little bit more difficult, in 4, 5, 6 years as this program becomes far more popular. But I do think, but I think that Mitchell's overall point is correct. That if people listened to Mitchell and I back in when we first started doing this back in 2019 and filed and did everything we said back in 2019, chances are you'd have your green card right now, right? Like there's a possibility you wouldn't, but there's a good chance you would. And so I think that when we tell people you should probably just go ahead and do this and get started, it's based on the fact that people who just start now, they can avoid a lot of the different problems that might come up in the future. So, and with visa retrogression, yeah, right now is a great time to go ahead and get started because I think in 2023, you're going to see cases be current, and hopefully you can get your green card. Actually, if you started now, maybe an ideal, like the really sweet spot would be September of 2023. when they're having to rush again, because as long as this administration's in charge, they're not going to want to waste cases. They're not going to want cases to roll over. And so in the summers, they're going to try to issue as many of them as possible. So, fingers crossed, they're still current and they're having to issue a ton of green cards. That would be a really, really sweet spot. And so that's another advantage to getting started now. That maybe if you're lucky, you could be in that sweet spot and get a green card pretty rapidly.
Yeah, totally. So if you're watching this video and you have no idea what we're talking about or what the retrogression even is, essentially the State Department every month will issue a new visa bulletin, and in this visa bulletin they will kind of show you what month of cases they are processing, and from time to time they will initiate a retrogression, which is where pretty much they put a stop on case processing in order to to adjudicate those long-standing pending cases that have been going for a long time. And so we're experiencing that right now. We've experienced it in the past. It's not a detrimental issue really to any EB-3 case. In fact, I think, the timing between the priority date of chart A or chart B or whatever, which is in 2020, versus the priority date in the opposite chart, which is, today, I think that 2-year period there is more or less the average processing time of an EB-3 case. And so that kind of tells me that, okay, if you started in 2020, your priority date, should be current soon, and your process will have taken about 2 years. And so that's kind of in line with what we have been telling people just in terms of processing times. And processing times is a big topic in this Facebook group. It's a big topic of people that are thinking about signing up with BDV or just signing up and doing the EB-3 program in general. Everyone wants to know that processing time. And the truth is, no one will ever be able to give you that processing time because things like this happen, the retrogression and other things that you just can't predict. And I think that goes back to what you had just said, Chris, about us encouraging people to start this program and to sign up for this program. It comes more from a place of like sympathy, like do this now because this opportunity might not be here later on. And I think that is maybe not necessary for people from some countries, but if you're from some of these other countries like Brazil or from Bangladesh or from Nepal or from Vietnam, these countries where we have a lot of EB-3 unskilled applicants, you are a little bit more at risk of getting caught in this kind of retrogression issue in the future. And so again, I mean, I will always take opportunities like this to encourage people to sign up, to not be discouraged to sign up. And then another thing just to mention is that BDV's prices are going to be increasing October 1st. And so if you sign up with BDV before October 1st, you will get that the original cost, which is $1,000 less than it's going to be on October 1st. So if you're a BDV client and you have questions about this, feel free to send us a chat in your BDV account. We are happy to address your questions and give you more insight into your case and make you feel more confident about kind of what's going on in your particular case. And then if you're confused here and you are a BDV client, it's just really important for you to know what your labor certification filing date is, because that is your priority date. Your labor cert filing date is very important because it is your priority date, and that is how you are able to go to that visa bulletin and check your case and see kind of where you fall within the visa bulletin. So I actually got a message from a client who he's in Brazil. He's been waiting like forever. He messages me all the time, like, I'm so ready for my interview. He was really disappointed about the retrogression, but now his case is current because his labor cert was filed before June of 2020. So this is definitely affecting some people in a positive way. Those people with longstanding cases hopefully will get their visas approved and adjudicated, or their green cards. So yeah, I mean, it's just another day in the life at BDV and in the life of U.S. immigration, which is just constantly changing. So
and also that a lot of this stuff is whack-a-mole for the government, in that first it was the EADs were taking a really long time, so they're like, oh god, we have to deal with that. So they fixed the EAD issue, and now they're jumping to, oh crap, we need to issue a lot of green cards. It's like, oh crap, we issued too many green cards. Now we have to do retrogression. And so a lot of immigration is just jumping from one thing to another thing to another thing, and one problem to another problem to another problem. And even though, we on the outside in the private sector get really frustrated by it, I can tell you that talking to people in government, Britt and I were in DC on Tuesday, and we met with people in government, and it's frustrating for them too. They wish that they had more power to issue more green cards and more consular, cases, and even looking at, the people in Bangladesh and Nepal and how long it's taken them to get, visa interviews and other places. I mean, it's very frustrating for a lot of people that there hasn't been movement. And then some consular officers trying not to curse anymore, aren't the best, aren't the smartest people or the most well-read people on this stuff, and they deliberately delay cases.
Yeah.
And so educating them on, the way this program works, and why they shouldn't be putting 221G in place. It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot for us, and it's also a lot for them too in government.
One thing that is actually some really good news, I talked to a BDV client from Bangladesh, and he got his interview scheduled in Dhaka, and it's scheduled next month in October. And so I think that is kind of the start. I mean, this is really kind of the beginning of like our clients starting to get their visa interviews and be DQ'd at the embassy. And so, I mean, hopefully it follows in Nepal. But I think that, our entire team is actively working to like resolve these situations, or at least figure out what the next step is to make forward movement within these different various situations. And that kind of makes me think about you and Britt going to Washington, D.C. and the value of BDV solutions, and what value, we really add to not only our clients going through this process, but just the legitimacy of the EB-3 program in general. Y'all are going to DC, y'all are meeting with the State Department, meeting with USCIS, meeting with the Department of Labor. And so really just educating these people that are actually, influential within these different government agencies, and informing them of this process, which if you live in the US, you know this, because if you drive down the street, you will pass by a fast food restaurant that inevitably has a now hiring sign on it. And so this problem of the labor shortage in the United States is just right in your face everywhere you go. It doesn't matter what state you're in, there's labor shortages around the whole country. And so this program is I wouldn't say it solves the labor shortage issue, but it's most certainly a Band-Aid that really helps U.S. employers to be able to staff their businesses. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that our role, and Chris, what you've done with the government relations team to really, step in and like assert ourselves within these government agencies to make sure that they understand this process and the importance of this process, not only for the immigrants and for our clients, but especially for the U.S. employers that can't find workers. So good job, Chris. I mean, great job.
No,
I think
thank you.
if our clients really knew what all was going on behind the scenes, I think they'd be really like satisfied and really happy.
Thank you, Mitchell. It's a lot of work, and it's a lot of stuff, because unfortunately the people in government, because immigration is so big, and there's so many different things. There's asylum, there's E2s, there's J's, there's H's. A lot of people just don't know what EB-3 unskilled is and why it matters. And so our job is to make sure they understand why this is important and why they need to do things like visa recapture, explaining visa retrogression, maybe ending visa retrogression, and why, it's not as simple as just these 10,000 people, as opposed to the millions who are applying for immigration benefits. It's just an important component of the U.S. economy as well. And so, yeah, meeting with senators and congressmen and their staffers and State Department, and USCIS and DOL, and trying just to educate them on, why these delays matter and why they're important to our clients, and also trying to lobby for the ones. We've had clients that have been waiting forever for their green cards, forever it feels like. And yeah, I'm trying to fight and find different ways to get them green cards every single day. We can't talk about all the stuff we do, but there are things that we try to do to help all of our clients, especially the long-standing ones, if we can.
Totally. Well, thank you, Chris. I think that this is super informative. If you are a BDV client and you have questions about any of this stuff, we totally understand that, and we encourage you to ask questions. So send us a chat in your BDV account, and we can try to give you a more personalized answer to whatever your question might be. But if your labor cert was filed before June 1st, 2020, congratulations, because you're current. Hopefully you'll be getting, your visa soon. Very happy for all those clients that are now current. But we will continue to monitor this situation, and we will continue to update you guys and let you know what's going on, and just try to be a legitimate source of information for you to come to and figure out, what's going on here. So anything else, Christopher?
No, sir. Yeah. Any questions, just send us a message on Intercom.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. We appreciate your engagement, and we will be back on here soon to talk more about all this stuff. So thank y'all for watching.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Mitchell.
All right, Chris. See ya.